The Church Growth and Giving Show, your resource for growing faithful communities. Brought to you by Vanco, helping tens of thousands of churches thrive for over 20 years. Join Jordan and Andy as they share insights drawn from decades of church giving and engagement expertise.
Today, we're breaking down the distinctions between e-givers and traditional givers in churches, two groups with very different giving behaviors, attendance patterns, and even communication preferences.
When you understand those differences, you can actually craft strategies that make each group feel understood and supported. It's not about replacing one with the other, it's about knowing how to speak to both in a way that connects well with each of them.
Let's start with e-givers. These are the folks who live in the digital space. They're comfortable with mobile apps, church websites, text to give, and online banking. They want convenience, ease of use, and they tend to respond really well to structured recurring giving programs.
And recurring giving is their preference because it fits how they already manage their finances. They automate their bills, their streaming subscriptions, and even their grocery deliveries. So why wouldn't they automate their giving?
On the flip side, we've got traditional givers. They're a group that often values the tangible, in person act of giving, dropping a check in the plate, filling out an envelope, or maybe even bringing cash. It's personal and it's part of their worship rhythm.
Which is why it's important not to alienate them by removing those traditional options too quickly. If you want to increase adoption of digital giving in this group, you do it gradually. You introduce the concept, show the security, and make it feel simple. And you always keep the traditional methods available.
And the giving method is just the start. When you look at attendance patterns, both groups, more than 90% of each, still attend in person. So let's bust that myth that digital givers are somehow less present in the life of the church.
In a lot of cases, they're just as involved or more involved. But here's where it shifts. E-givers are much more likely to also attend virtually. 68% compared to only 19% of traditional givers. And the ways they watch, online streaming is number one, but they're also tuning in to TV broadcasts, watching recorded streams later, or listening to podcast versions of the sermon throughout the week.
Which means if you've got a high number of e-givers in your church, your online service isn't just a backup plan, it's a primary channel of ministry.
And frequency wise, e givers are attending weekly at a higher rate, 66% compared to 57% of traditional givers. That's a clue that they're deeply engaged, even if they're splitting their attendance between in person and virtual.
Let's talk worship style because this one surprised me. Traditional givers overwhelmingly prefer traditional services, 86%, while e-givers are more open to contemporary worship, 38% prefer it. But here's the kicker, 61% of e-givers still attend traditional services.
That's a really important point. Digital habits don't necessarily equal a desire for modern worship styles. You can't make assumptions just based on how someone gives.
It's why you have to understand both types of givers and get to know them. Then there's tenure. Traditional givers have been around longer. 63% have attended their current church for over 11 years. For e-givers, it's 38%.
Which tells me that e-givers may be newer members, or more likely to have moved around a bit. And that means churches have to work harder to connect with them early, because if you don't build those relationships quickly, they might not stick around.
And that leads us to communication because there's a big difference here, too.
And that difference is a difference maker for churches in the giving process. E-givers prefer digital communication, websites, apps, email, social, and text messages, and they report higher satisfaction with how churches communicate with them. 62% versus 53% for traditional givers.
And traditional givers, they want service announcements, printed bulletins, and mailed letters. They're not necessarily anti digital, but they expect traditional touch points.
Which means if you want to grow giving in both groups, you can't have a one channel strategy. You've got to match the method to the person.
Now, let's dig into ministry participation, because this is one of the more encouraging trends.
And it's also a part of the equation many churches overlook. E-givers are participating more in ministries beyond Sunday services. They're signing up for activities, volunteering, and joining groups. And I think a lot of that is tied to how connected they are digitally. They see events pop up on their phone, They click a link and instantly they're in.
In other words, it's frictionless. And when it comes to daily media usage, e-givers are just more engaged across digital platforms in general. They're scrolling, messaging, streaming, and church content fits right into that ecosystem.
Traditional givers, meanwhile, have a slightly different rhythm. They still use email and text daily, so you can reach them that way, but they're also more likely to engage in person or through physical materials.
So let's talk strategy. For e-givers, step one is making sure your digital experience is rock solid. Your giving platform needs to be intuitive. Recurring giving should be front and center. And your online worship experience, it has to be high quality, consistent, and easy to access.
And don't just think of online worship as a live stream. Offer on demand content, clip highlights from sermons, use your social channels to share moments from worship and ministry life. E-givers will engage with that during the week, not just on Sunday, and it also helps your church maximize content to reach as many people as possible.
For traditional givers, the approach is more about strengthening what already works, keeping those bulletins sharp, making your mailed letters personal, and using Sunday announcements effectively.
And then, little by little, introducing digital tools. Invite them to try text to give after they've already given in person. Maybe share how digital tools can help them make their gift while they're away on vacation so they're still connected. Show them how they can sign up for a ministry online. It's about reducing the intimidation factor.
I love the idea of having a digital help desk in the lobby, someone who can walk folks through setting up online giving or downloading the church app.
It's an extension of having that personal touch in the process. And the data from our benchmark study of 25,000 churches makes the case for why this matters so much. Recurring givers gave more than 2 times what non recurring givers gave. That's not a small bump, that's transformational.
And those same churches saw a 159% increase in online giving over 5 years. That's proof that when you invest in these strategies, you get a return, not just in dollars, but in engagement.
Those numbers show that this isn't just theory. Churches can rely on this data and build their strategy from it. And then you have case studies like CDO Church in California, who was looking to grow their church to 500 members. They made an emphasis on recurring giving, which helped them gather more resources for their mission. Their push led to a tenfold increase in recurring giving. If you want to learn more about their story, check out the link in the notes.
The big takeaway from all of this is to know your audience, speak their language, whether that's digital or traditional, and give them tools that fit their habits, which is what church is all about. Giving flows from connection, and connection grows when you meet people where they are.
So, whether you're talking to the tech savvy e giver or the loyal traditional giver, the message is the same. You matter here, and we've made it easy for you to be part of what God's doing.
We've talked about some of the powerful resources we have for churches, so before we end this episode, can you explain a little bit more about those?
We have our complete churchgoer giving study. In this survey, we asked 1,000 churchgoers about their giving, attendance, and other faith related habits for 10 years. What we found was really eye opening. So be sure to check out the resource because it's more than just data. It has course material to help churches respond to the trends. You can also find links to our benchmark giving data of 25,000 churches and the case study we mentioned.
Thanks, Jordan. All that sounds great. And thanks to our listeners for joining us today on the Church Growth and Giving Show. Hopefully, you feel better equipped and inspired to put this game changing data to use for your church. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more great content like this that helps you lead your church with purpose and clarity. And we'll see you next time.